increase the rate of return, you can massively increase your financial wealth. So, you'll see here, if this person starts off with $15,000, now I'm not saying whether it's borrowed or whether it's in cash, but you start off with $15,000 and they save $100 a week. Okay, so this person has got a slightly higher income, but they also get a 25% return. Is it possible to get a 25% return on your money? Who doesn't know how to do that yet? Okay, just as well you're here. It's, here's something interesting. Your paradigm around what return you can get in money creates what return you get in money. Because you cannot attract to you any concept or idea that is against your self-image. You're not in vibration or harmony with it. So if you believe that the best you can get is 7%, then anything that's beyond that, you will have a belief that will cause you to reject that information. Understand? So, see, about half the room put their hand up that they didn't know how to get 25%. What does that mean about the other half? They do. So who's wrong? If one person in the room could get 25% per annum on their money, it means everyone else has an incorrect belief because one person is doing it. And so if other people are achieving it, then the question is only, how do I? Should be the only question. How do I get 25% on my money? I'm going to go through and show you how to get 25%, in fact a lot more. But 25% is pretty ordinary. Some of the people in the room here know that they've done it in a day sometimes. So I want you just to put aside whether you can do it or not right now, because the moment it challenges our belief, we tend to stop listening from that point onwards. But see, it's fascinating. We are taught that the higher the return in money, the more return you get, is higher the risk. Now, I want to suggest that's not quite true. In fact, it's not true at all. And you only have to look at a bank. What sort of return do they get on the money that they lend out? What return do banks get? Anyone know? On the money they lend out? 17%? I'm going to give you a new paradigm around this. Banks, when you put cash in the bank, if you go there and put $1,000 in the bank, if they lend that out for home loans, what sort of interest rate are home loans? About 6-7% now, 7% we'll say, or a bit higher. So if a home loan is 7%, how many times do they lend it out? They lend it out 7.1 times. They're legally allowed to lend the same dollar out 7.1 times. So they're getting 7% interest multiplied by 7.1. They're getting almost 50% return on the cash you give them. And they give you how much? 3% if you're lucky, and they're getting 50%. And people put money in the bank. You say, duh. Why not buy the bank share? If they're going to lend it out for credit cards, they are legally allowed to lend the same dollar out 23 times. On how much interest do you pay on credit cards? 16, 17, 18, 19%. Multiply that by 23 and see what sort of risk they're taking for the return. And we're sold this stupid belief that the higher the return, the higher the risk. And they're taking zero risk for that, almost. And so understand that your belief around what sort of return that money can make you limits the return your money will make you. So just for now, let's assume that 25% per annum is possible. If you saved, your little grey bars here are showing how much you saved. Your saving is almost negligent. You're putting $100 a week aside plus your $15,000 initial capital. I haven't got it here. Well, here it is here. Your total contribution is $113,800 and your asset or your net worth is over $3 million. $3 million. Not bad. And you've put $113,000 aside in 20 years. Well, I want to show you how powerful compounding is. I have this little money tree, and I want to just punch some figures in here. I used to sit down and show people on a napkin or a serviette at a coffee shop and help them to understand. If you put only $2,000 a year aside, starting off from zero, you don't have any money now, and you put $2,000 a year aside, which means you'd have to be on an income of at least $20,000 a year. Is that correct? Okay, so that means practically anyone can do this. So $2,000 a year, and let's say we don't increase it at all, and our portfolio return, and we can get 25% easily in the stock market, so we'll put 25% in there, and some of you don't understand that yet, so we'll come back to it. And we'll just leave all the other figures. We'll pretend you're on a taxable income, paying 30% tax, so you're earning within that threshold. In 5 years' time from now, then you would have a portfolio of $65,000. You would, and that shows you what the actual cash value if you sold it up, taking out any borrowed funds. It also shows you what your income would be if you just extracted the growth and the dividend out every year from that point onwards. Okay, let's say this person does it for 15 years. What happens? All they're doing is putting $2,000 a year aside, investing in something that gives them a 25% return, and compounding that every year, putting $2,000 a year into that investment. 15 years from now, you would have. Now, is there any teenagers here that think that they couldn't handle that by the time they're 30 or 35? You have a $3.5 million portfolio. If you sold it up and paid any borrowings on that, it would be $1.3 million. How many of your parents, when they were 30, 35, had that much? You teenagers. $1.3 million portfolio. If you stopped at that point and started to extract the entire growth out of it each year, you could take out an income of $411,000. $411,000. There's no smoke and mirrors with this. This is what people are actually doing. This is just figures of compounding.